Welcome to Bring Out Your Badass Self, a movement to break your negative thoughts and habits and instead focus on building each other up and encouraging fearless authenticity.
Each week, we will get vulnerable and share experiences alongside our guests and audience. Come rediscover your inner badass self.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, badasses.
Yes, good morning.
How are you doing today, Cate?
I am doing well. How are you?
You know, juggling some things and making some mistakes. And hey, that's what life's about, right?
Yes. Yes. And I see you have new glasses.
I do. I can't wait until I actually get my hair done. Miss Ashley does my hair because I think that they'll pop out even more with the teal. And
Well, they look amazing. I love them.
Thank you. And so I really like the red ones, but I love these as well.
Yeah.
So I thought it was time for a change.
Yeah. It's fun to change. You can still wear your red ones, right? Or are they different prescriptions? Yeah.
No, my eyes actually aren't getting as bad as they have in the past. So that's a good thing. I was just telling Jay that I now can have some backup glasses instead of being so bad the next year or so.
Yeah.
And so it looks like Carrie said that she asked if we had started because she can't see anything. And so I'm not sure what's going on there, Carrie. But Stephanie, I show that you were on. She said, good morning. Are you able to see everything? So can you just let us know? And maybe Carrie, maybe restart or that typical IT thing, restart and refresh. And so it looks like Kim is on as well this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
And so hope you can join us, Carrie. Oh, Brooke said she confirmed she can see us. So thank you for that. And welcome, Brooke. And so, Cate, I have to tell you that I'm feeling especially badass today. I just have to tell you, I posted something on Facebook yesterday. And it blew up, and I had no idea that I was going to get that type of reaction. It was honestly just so awesome to see people loving the message of self-love. And it was just an amazing feeling to just hear from everybody and then love everybody back.
Yeah, it was great. I loved seeing all the positive comments. I had a sense that that was going to resonate with people because it was a vulnerable thing you did. You know, you posted a picture of yourself in a swimsuit, and you were like, "I'm not hiding," and this is me. And we all have things we may not like about our bodies, but we still have to love them because they are what we are.
Exactly. I mean, I was like, yep, I got a big belly. Hey, I got some stretch marks. Hey, guess what? I also have other things. I got 30 pounds of boobs. So,
right.
This is who I am. And luckily, I have an amazing husband that loves me for just who I am. And I love me for who I am. And that's really what it's about. So
honestly, it really is. And you can't, and it inspires other people, to either attempt to gain that confidence, like Brooke just saying, I love that. Wish I had that confidence.
Brooke's amazing. So, girl, work it.
Just do it. Just jump. Yeah.
And then good morning, Eric. And so I love it. He always says good morning or good badass morning.
I know. It's so great. So yeah, please continue to say hello. Let us know you're here. If this is the first time joining, add that white heart, please, so that we know, because we love to say, an extra hello to our new folks. But it's so wonderful to see our community and all of our fellow badasses.
That's right. It's about making a movement. We're about making a movement of badass people that love each other, that get vulnerable together. And I want to sort of point out that I have discovered that we have some lurkers, some people from that post yesterday. I had people that were like, hey, I've been watching, stuff that you guys have been saying. I just love it. And so I love that we have lurkers. I would love it if you would also just let us know, just a quick hello. Hey, I'm here. We love to hear that, even if it's after the fact. I do have to say that I love the lurkers as long as you're loving. I've been getting some military bots, and please, I've been laughing at, I have a military bot that I always get the same thing. And yesterday it was like 12 hours after I posted this, I got the military bot. It's always guys in military suits. I don't know why, but they always say this exact same thing with a bunch of roses. And I was like, hey, it only took you 12 hours. You're slacking a little bit here. And so, we have a new person. We can't see you, by the way.
So if you could go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. So Facebook doesn't allow your name to show up unless you give StreamYard permission. So if you could go do that, that would be great. Or maybe it's StreamYard. I'm not sure who's in control there. But StreamYard. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. You got to give StreamYard permission when you're on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube. And hello, Evan. He's jumping out, letting us know he's here. He said, happy Friday. And good, Carrie can now see us for the moment. Let the healing begin. I love that. And so today we actually have two special guests. We didn't tell you who they are. We previously interviewed them, and they are our youngest guests to date, and they'll probably be our youngest for all guests that we probably have as we continue our show. And so today's episode is number 13, and some people feel that number 13 is unlucky. I say it's lucky. Just, like with dealing with fear, I sort of go against the grain. I say, it is actually lucky versus unlucky. I sort of defy what people try to tell me that we should do, and I say the opposite. I'm like, no, it's going to be lucky. So that to me is really a lot of what today's topic is about.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna play the video of the interview, and during the interview you'll see a ticker with a question posed. So our thought is, especially because there's a little bit of delay with some of the comments. So our thought is that if we'd love for you guys to engage and answer some of the questions right alongside our special guests. And then we'll be pausing and talking about each question too. And Sarah and I will share our stuff and be as vulnerable as we usually are. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it should be. And so without further ado, let's get started. I find that a lot of people can learn from kids, and that's why we decided to have our guest today. Kids really start off fearless until they're taught to have fear, mostly by adults. And so our guests today are my daughter, Riley, and her friend Peyton, who is a great friend of hers and a neighbor of ours. So let's see what these two fearless girls have to say about fear. All right. I'd like to welcome my guest today. We are going to be talking about fearlessness. And so can you both introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Peyton. What's up? Hi, I'm Riley.
All right, awesome. And so today we are going to be talking about fearlessness and also fear. And so let's first start off with, can fear be a good thing? Maybe Riley, can you go first?
It can, because whenever you're in bad situations where it's like life or death, it's like then you need to be scared so that you know how to get out of that situation and stuff. Yeah. Would you like to talk?
Sure, why not? Yeah, fear can be something that's good in your life because if you're scared of something, that's just gonna make you want to do it more, like different things that you do. You could be like scared of heights and like you still want to ride a roller coaster or whatever, and like your brain might be like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared, but then you're like, wait, I want to do that though, and then makes your brain all weird and fuzzy.
Perfect. All right, I'm going to stop it there. And so, Cate, let's talk a little bit about the purpose of fear. And so, before we get into our next question with them, you have any initial thoughts about the purpose of fear, the root of fear, and can fear be a good thing?
Yeah, I think, fear, like guilt, can have a positive aspect to it. Like Riley was saying, fear can actually help you stay safe. It can help you learn about yourself more. Fear is often a primary emotion when others are a secondary, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's purpose in fear. And so I don't know if people have heard of this particular concept, but it's the reptilian part of our brain that is meant to react and have an instinct. It's to protect us. It's to make sure we're secure. So that's really the purpose of fear, is to help keep us safe, to help us identify danger when there's there. And that's a good thing, because we need to be able to protect ourselves. And so as we continue on, we're going to talk a little bit about the things related to overcoming fear, but also some of the good things related to fear, and also sometimes the negative things related to fear, because a lot of people equate fear to negativity, but it can actually be positive, and each of those responses can actually be a good thing. So we'll talk about that a little bit more.
And there's a huge difference between, fear, like physical fear, and, living in fear, right? So we've talked about this a few times in previous episodes, but when you're living in fear, you're really letting your anxieties and your overthinking and maybe your inner critical voice guide you rather than love, right? So that's, living in fear is so uncomfortable. But, fear itself, like we've just said, doesn't have to necessarily be a bad thing. And sometimes it can actually be pleasurable, like, thrilling.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the girls are going to start to talk about that. So if anybody has any thoughts about that, we're going to continue with the interview. And so the next question is this. Perfect. I like it. Can you give me some examples of something you feared and you overcame? Maybe Peyton, go first on this one.
I did not know how to do a back handspring on the trampoline or the ground, but my amazing friend Riley here, she taught me, and basically what she told me was like, there's things that could happen but like not really happening. It's just things that's in your brain. And for me, I had a mental block in my brain or whatever, thinking that I would die or break something in my body if I did it. But I actually did it, and I did a backflip before I did the back handspring. So,
and then also she was just like, wow, that was really easy. I can't believe I couldn't get that the first time.
Yeah, now I did like 5 in a row.
That's awesome. So Peyton was having fear, Riley. Could you relate to that fear?
Definitely not. I feel like it was really easy for me to do a back handspring. It took me a little while, but there was just no fear. I was just ready to do it.
There was no fear for you. All right. Well, what did you do to help her believe she could do it?
Well,
mean.
Yeah, I was mean about it. I was like, well, I can do it. Why can't you do it? And she just like, yeah.
And what was that?
I pushed her.
Yeah. So then I was just like,
I most definitely did that.
So then I was just like, okay, well, what would happen to you if you fell or fell off the trampoline? How could you do that?
You could do that because the edge of the trampoline's right there, and then
But you're going backwards, and it's like a really long trampoline.
It is a long trampoline.
So what are you gonna do? Like do the backflip and then jump off the trampoline? Like
you could do that.
I mean, yeah, but like that's hard to do.
I guess it is hard enough, but like still. you could still like be in the wrong spot, land wrong. One time she landed wrong and her foot landed like in a little hole. And then she was just stuck there and she was like, ah!
And then, like, I got out of it, but like it's just like
it was still scary because like I don't know what she did. Like all we know is that she just had her foot in there. She fell through it, and we thought she was gonna. And I thought she was gonna actually like fall right through it.
And then like there's a hole like in front of the trampoline, and one of my friends fell through it and like fell onto her head, and she started to hyperventilate. And I was like, okay, we're done with the trampoline.
We're done with that.
But like after a little bit, she was just like, let's just get back up the trampoline. I was so surprised about it.
So that didn't scare you so after seeing all of those things, that then didn't scare you the next time you then did it? Wanted you? What about you?
Yeah, because like after you get it once, you're gonna feel like it's just gonna like be there, and you're gonna remember it more often. And like I don't come to the trampoline all the time, but like if I could come on the trampoline right now and just do a backflip. And good.
So right. All right, we're going to stop there for a second. So we're going to go into the next question here in a minute. And so, Cate, let's talk a little bit of they actually had some really good things in there that they were talking about. And so Riley was, like, okay, you can do it. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen to you? And I know that you have an example of something that you feared that you, how it is you approached it. And so do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I actually have a couple of examples. I thought of another one. So I, was very interested in getting a tattoo on my head. But I was terrified of the pain. And so I thought it through and, just really asked myself, because once you start something like that, you can't stop, right? So once the needle goes in, you have to really be committed. So I made that choice and jumped in, and 9 hours later, I had the tattoo that I wanted, and it was, 9 hours of pain. It was scary. It was very scary because, you're just in constant pain to get something that you want, knowing that it's temporary, but it really kind of pushed you to push me to the limit in a lot of ways physically.
I got to tell you, that's fucking badass, because when you told me that and you showed me, I was like, what the hell? And you said that there were men that were like, just big burly men that were looking at you going, fuck.
Yes.
Holy shit.
Yes. And ones that had tattoos, so they stopped by, and they were like, you're doing that all right now. They had, some of them had less than I had, or they had, full heads, but they were like, I could only do that for like a half hour at a time. How long have you been sitting there? And I'm like, 4 hours.
I got 5 more to go.
Yes.
I remember you told me that like the first moment it went in, you were like, oh shit, I am not sure I'm going to be able to do this. And you just had to really just focus in like, okay, I'm going to do this.
Yeah. And to be completely honest, I wanted to back out that first needle in, and I was like, oh shit, and then I started telling myself, like, you've been through worse, this is physical. And I just kind of would remind myself of all of the traumas, all of the things I have been through, and how I survived. And it was almost like a spiritual experience. In a way, because it really pushed my body to the limit. I think that people who like exercise a lot or do a lot of physical stuff feel that sometimes too, right? I have felt that when I was exercising, where it was like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. And you like push yourself a little further. So it's similar, except it's a little, it's beyond your control when you have someone putting a needle in your head. although it was voluntary, you know, like I could at some point just get up.
Right.
But
I would say that this is an example of fear where you just go full out. But I would say that sometimes fear is, you know, like you could have done like some of those other guys, like done a little bit at a time instead of doing everything at once. And I know that, like, you know, fear of heights, that was one of the other things that you dealt with, that you took a step. You didn't overcome it, but you took a step.
Right. So there was this time when my family and I went to the Sears Tower in Chicago, and I knew that I didn't necessarily, like, I wasn't a huge fan of heights and looking straight down, but I don't mind looking out, and I've been in many high-rise buildings before. I'm even house sat in a big high-rise in Chicago for a couple of weeks once, and I really enjoyed it. So I thought this would be okay, but I wasn't going to like step into the glass box, right? So there's a glass box that like hangs over the edge. And so my family went in and I was there taking pictures, and they kind of were like, come on, just try it. And I decided to just take a step and try it. And it was hard. Like, so I took that step, and I had a strong physical reaction that I was not expecting. So I, you know, took that step, and I like crumbled and started like hyperventilating. I had no clue I would react that way. So, you know, but I was still proud of myself for doing it. You know, I don't feel like, you know, I overcame it by any means, but I took that first step.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the really, whenever you think about fear, it's just taking that initial step. Okay, what can I do to start to progress? And we're going to talk about this a little bit more as we go on. So let's skip to the rest of the video.
Yeah.
Riley, you also have some fears. You're mostly fearless, correct? You'll say. Okay. But you do have some fears. And so can you tell us about one of your fears that you do have, and maybe some decisions that you have made to try to overcome those fears?
So I am terrified of clowns. I hate them. They're creepy. They're terrifying. I don't like them. They're nasty. I don't like them. They're nasty. They're But when I was younger, my mom would put me in like these Halloween costumes of clowns. Oh dang! I literally hated it, but like after a little while, I was like fine with it. But like it was me, so like I wasn't scared about me. Yeah, scared of myself. But like
it's probably like other people.
Yeah,
so your mom pushed you into just being a clown to try to get over the fear.
Yeah. She said,
sounds like a super mean mom.
Really does. And then also we went to a Halloween haunted house, and I thought it was gonna be like one where they just like they pop out of you and it's just like some scary thing. But of course, my mom brought me to a clown thing, and I was just like, Mom, how dare you? But there was a clown that had a no, it was
on stilts and also a chainsaw. Yeah, chainsaw.
A chainsaw. And my dad, he freaked out, and he like held me in front of him like this, and he was just like.
So he was scared too?
He hated chainsaws.
He said, take your child.
Take my child. He threw me at that. And I looked at it.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
That's sad, man. That's something.
So this is, for me, this is funny. Riley is scared of clowns. And I said to her, I said, okay. And you have to understand, Halloween is like our favorite time of the year. And so we have this 7-foot clown out front. It goes like this out the front. And so she's like, Mom, I hate clowns. And I kept getting these little clowns, not knowing this for the longest time. So, okay, Riley, I was like, let's think about why, this fear that you have. I said, what if you are the clown instead of being scared of the clowns, what if you scare people and you are the clown? So I ended up getting her a clown outfit, and she was an amazing, scary clown. But it's those little things. It's that steps forward of how we can overcome a fear like that.
Yeah. And that's just like me taking that step and you helping Riley kind of control the aspects of it and that's exposure therapy. You know, there's a whole philosophy out there that, you know, if you want to overcome a fear, you know, you expose yourself to the thing you're afraid of in a safe environment, you know, and you do it slowly until, you know, you can handle it a little more.
Exactly. And a lot of people, and the kids will talk about this. Sometimes some of us are like, you're scared of clowns, you know, like there's different people that are scared of different things and you just can't really relate. And so it's then figuring out, okay, why do I have this fear? What can I do? What are the steps that I can take? But it's also about what you can control. And I think, you know, Cate, that's really the key point that you just said. It's what can I control in the moment? And we'll talk more about this. And so we're going to finish out the rest of the video with the girls. I want to make sure that some of you take a moment to sort of watch Riley's face as Peyton mentions a couple of things as she points out some of the things that she does that she is fearless about, and watch Riley on how it is she reacts to the things that Peyton feels fear less about, but Riley sees fear, and it's fun to sort of watch that dynamic. And then at the very end of the video, they're going to have some fun and show you guys some of their talents and some of the things that they do that are fearless. So we're going to play out the rest of this. So, all right. So how about, what is the thing that you have done? And I didn't tell you I was going to ask this question. What is the thing you have done in your life that you think a lot of people may not do, or not, you know, a lot, but you think that other people are scared of, but you actually have done?
Backflip.
A backflip?
On trampoline, just for y'all, because she cannot do it. I can't bring it safe for life on floor.
I mean, I did, but like, I literally severely fell and on the ground. It hurt bad. But like, when she first taught me, it was like super easy to do.
Uh-huh.
Super easy.
So what about some other things that you guys have done, like roller coasters?
Oh, I have something. Whitewater rafting.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't do it, but I thought it was so much fun because I went
because they can't swim, or they just don't like jump.
It was but it's really fast, and I went through the Olympic section, and it was so much fun. But like, I went with my dad, who had like 17 heart attacks. Like, no.
My mom, she's afraid of heights, and since she is, there's no roller coaster she will ever go on, but this one I convinced her to go on. And I said, it's a baby ride, Mom. It's not that scary. Because to me, it wasn't that scary, and hopefully to her, it wasn't that scary. If you went to Six Flags, it's like the old abandoned car ship, the old abandoned.
I don't think that's there anymore. Is it? When I was last there. I didn't ride it. Maybe
the last time I was there, it was there, and I made her ride it. I'm like, you know what, Mom? Because my brother and my dad went on the Superman ride, which goes up and down. I didn't want to do
Superman.
I thought I was gonna die when I was going. I was in the line like, I ain't doing this.
What, Superman?
The Superman one.
It was so much fun.
Like the new Superman one that goes like all the way up and then comes crashing down.
And then you go like backwards on your head.
No, not that one.
No?
That's another Superman one, but not the one I'm talking about.
I don't know.
Oh.
But yeah, there's one Superman one go all the way up and then like you go up super, super slowly and then you like crash down. It was so
Goliath?
I don't think it was Goliath.
Are you talking about?
I don't even know anymore. But like, yeah, so my mom, I've made her ride this ride with me because she was just gonna be standing in line the entire time waiting on me to get off. So I'm like, you know what, Mom, you're gonna be on this ride with me because it's like that was probably like my 5th time riding on it, like in a row, waiting on my mom, my dad, and my brother. And we went on it, and she had her glasses on, and it was like,
oh no.
And it was going up, and she thought it was gonna go down, and she's behind me grabbing my shirt like.
What did she say after she got off?
she's like, I'm never trusting you again. I'm never gonna end any rides ever again.
Oh no.
Oh,
That sounds like my
literally.
brother.
Like she will never that was like the only ride at Six Flags that she's ever written on.
Yeah.
One time we went on this one that's called like Red Devil or something. It was like the big one that goes all the way up and they like down and like loop de loops, whole bunch of stuff.
Not every single one is like goes all the way up.
A lot of the I only ride big rides, so I don't really know any other kind of rides.
And Riley, you have recently done roller coasters, and you found that it's like your new favorite thing.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
When I went on my first one, the first one I went on was Batman. I thought it was literally so much fun.
Yes.
And then when we went on Goliath, it was like I wanted to like look out, but I couldn't because it was it was so fast that my eyes were like
because
closed shut.
It's like your eyes just like go down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's weird.
What was your favorite one?
No, I haven't been there in a while.
So I have two other things that I think that you guys have done that other people probably wouldn't have done. And so Riley, I know that you have done zip lining, and I know a lot of people that actually wouldn't do zip lining.
Why? We literally had a zip line.
You had a zip line back here.
Yeah.
I was kind of scared to do it, but then I realized.
Zip line?
Yeah, your little zip line. I was kind of scared to do it because I thought I was gonna hit a tree.
It was literally the shortest zip line ever.
Yeah,
I can't hear you guys.
It's the shortest zip line ever.
But like literally, there's so many trees back there, and like where it was connected to that big tree right there.
Yeah.
And
this way.
It was a whole bunch of stuff, and I thought I was gonna hit a tree, and I was so scared. But I mean, I wasn't scared. I'm like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna back off.
Well, Peyton, I think the other thing that you have done that a lot of people would find terrifying is actually performing.
I hate it. I could never. I could never.
Okay, Riley. I've been performing since I was those years old, man.
I could never.
I
literally could never. I can barely do this.
Oh, that sounds like a challenge, Peyton. Because she tempted you to do the back handsprings.
I know, right? No, but like I've just been dancing my entire life, and sometimes I get scared. Sometimes because like my recent show that I did, I was kind of scared, just a little bit. You're not a ballerina.
I am a ballerina.
You're a bad one. But the recent show I did, when I did it, I was kind of scared that I would mess up. That's not even ballerina. I would like to show you something, but yeah. But like my recent one, I was kind of scared that I would mess up because I honestly did mess up. But since I was in all 6 shows, the first one was my worst, and then my last one was my best because my brother was there, and I had this tap performance. Did y'all see my tap performance?
Yes.
Yeah, my tap.
We saw it all. You did amazing.
Yeah. So
never.
Yeah, you like my tap performance. Me and my friend Sophie, the girl who did the thing in the middle that tapped me on the shoulder that made me go back.
Yeah.
Oh.
That thing. That's Sophie. She's my bestie.
I have no idea what they were talking about.
Well, she's my bestie, and she's in 10th grade. I know. I'm just not a friend. No. But yeah, and like we performed that. We had to like practice that so many times. At first, it was just me just not standing the right way.
Yeah.
And then over time, it got like to like being dramatic and more acting and like more.
But it got easier because you practiced, right?
Yeah, it gets easier after you practice and like you do it like for your entire life.
Yeah. All right.
I did it like once.
So, ladies, the other thing you guys were going to do for me today is to show us some trampoline. And so, all right. So we are going to get things set up.
Okay, ready?
Almost.
3, 2. Are you filming?
I am still filming. All right. So let's.
She literally said, handshake. Oh, this is our handshake, guys. Ready? What up, Dusty? What up, Dusty? Oh no, Dusty!
So show us those back handsprings. Back handsprings.
Okay. Yes, that's the back foot. I thought I should take off my glasses. Just maybe.
Now, Riley, you show us one of your tricks.
What am I?
Yeah. All right, Peyton, you do.
Riley taught me to do this. I still can't do it, but like it's 4, but like.
Get back up
That
there.
was better. Shut up, Riley.
All right. Come say hello. Say goodbye.
Show off.
Say thank you.
Bye. Adios. Bye. Adios.
So it was so much fun to do that with them. There's so much energy. And I don't know if anybody has ever tried to interview 12-year-olds and keep them focused. That was a challenge. And so, but
they so wanted to do it though. They were so into it.
I mean, and did it fearlessly in talking to me and things like that. And so I want to pull up a couple comments that came in as we were going through the show. So I remember when I came to understand the difference between courage and simply fearlessness. And so, Bruce, I'd love to hear more.
Yeah.
Carrie says, if you're a Gen X, Stephen King ruined clowns for us all. Isn't that true?
So true.
And Stephanie said, pure joy in these girls. I love it. And then welcome, Carmen. She said, I love them. And so Cate and I had a couple of other things we really wanted to also chat about that we think is important related to fear. But we also think that fear, that there is good and there is bad. And there are really 4 types of fear. And the first one has to do with flight. The interesting part about each of these, so there's fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, which a lot of people aren't as familiar with, but we're going to talk about all 4 of those. And the interesting fact is that there are some negative aspects to each of these, and then there are healthy ways to handle that, which I think not a lot of people really realize. And so, Cate, do you want to talk about a little bit about fight, what that means?
Yeah. So fight is really about survival. Everyone has kind of heard of fight or flight, right? But many times it's a trauma response that stems, really from a belief that you need to fight to get what you want or what you need in that moment. So it's really safety and security, and when it's trauma related, it's often because you wanted that safety and security in the past, when you were in that situation. But the healthy version of fight is setting boundaries. We've done a whole episode on setting boundaries. So if you know that something causes you to feel that fight response, you can set a healthy boundary around it.
Yep. And I love that. As I figured that out, because within our brain, that reptilian brain, whenever it senses fear, it opens up. And then we have to basically close it back. And that's when we close it back, that's really us setting a boundary. Like, okay, I'm going to take control on what it is I can control, which is dealing with, I can set a boundary. The boundary is about me. What is it that I will do instead of all of the fight is actually that anger most of the time that is going out, and I'm getting mad at someone, so I'm lashing out. So instead of that unhealthy aspect of it, it's focusing on what I can control, which is setting the boundaries.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about flight.
So this is when you literally want to get out of the situation. You need to escape. So oftentimes, fear causes you to want to hide and run away. So maybe you want to avoid an uncomfortable conversation, or you have a feeling that something's dangerous around you. This could also be like self-medicating, so turning to alcohol or drugs to avoid stepping out of your comfort zone, so you're scared of social situations, so you drink a little too much, to kind of ease the situation. Now, the healthy version of this is awesome, because the healthy version of flight is when you remove yourself from a situation and agree to come back when you're ready. So, maybe this is in the middle of a conflict and you agree to come, we'll talk when I calm down.
Yep. This is a response. This is my response. So whenever I feel fear, I have to get out of the situation. And so, but it's also that can then trigger someone else because they think, oh, this person's leaving me. And so it's also important that a part of that, it is also establishing, okay, but look, I just need some space. Whenever we calm down, let's talk about this again. And so this is really important. It's not that any of these are bad. It's more about how it is you respond to these different fears. Fear is going to happen. So it's identifying how will I respond.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Then we have freeze.
Yep. And freeze is what you think it is. It's when you stop, you stand still. Maybe you have decision paralysis, or maybe not moving forward or backward. You're just literally kind of numb. You're detaching, disassociation. All of these things can be a part of the freeze. So in terms of how it kind of tactically looks sometimes, maybe numbing out by watching TV, or using your phone a ton, playing games. Sometimes you just want the time to pass, but sometimes you're like overwhelmed and you're like suppressing your feelings. So the healthy version of freezing is mindfulness and meditation, or staying in your present moment and not worrying about the future or the past. So, if you know that you disassociate and kind of have that freeze reaction a lot, try to turn to mindfulness. Use that as a superpower to be able to meditate and be mindful.
And I think a lot of people think about mindfulness. They think it's like this, okay, what is this? It's sort of a abstract thing. Ultimately, mindfulness is saying, okay, what is going on in the moment? I'm staying present in the moment. I'm not going to deal with the past because I can't do anything about that. I can't worry about the future because I can't do anything about that either. Right. So again, it's just being in the moment, in the present. And again, it's all about control. What can I do in the moment? What are the positive things that I can do versus worrying, which is anxiety, which is, leads you down the path of depression or things like that. And so just mindfulness is simply being present in the moment. And then the last one is fawn. This is actually my favorite one. And I think because a lot of people don't realize what it is. And I want to talk about this one a little bit. So fawning is really for our people pleasers. And I don't know if you guys remember in the past, we talked about this, and this is something that I understand, I can empathize with, but I am not that type of person. So, but I understand how people can get to that. And really it's because people are become sort of used to putting their feelings aside and focusing on other people's needs instead. And a lot of times you might see this with a narcissist. So the person that is connected to the narcissist. So if your narcissist was your mother, or your narcissist was, your husband, they get you to fawn over them. This really can manifest itself into codependent relationships. You want them to need you because you need them, because you think you're not good enough. And I want you to know that you are. And so this really can lead to abusive relationships. It's really that toxic relationship. The person fawning feels it's their responsibility to either take the blame or change the other person. And this manifests itself into no or little boundaries being set. And you have now invested all of this energy into what that other person wants. So the healthy version of this is having compassion for others, validating and listening to each other, and we take time to support each other. And we also don't take on other people's issues as our own. And so it's really about validating yourself, validating them in the same breath, supporting them, supporting yourself, letting them own their issues and you owning your issues.
Yep, 100%. And you can see, we talked a little bit about how, fawning can actually lead to abusive relationships. It's really common inside the abusive relationship a lot of times because the person that is being abused is using it to survive the moment, right? So if I make them happy, if I set aside my issues, then I will, be able to survive this particular moment.
I'm going to pull up Jesse.
Hey,
Jesse, thanks for joining us. He said, let them keep their problem.
Exactly, right. It's not your problem. It's theirs. And they own it 100%. Jesse, I love that.
Yes. And so I'm going to pull up a couple of other things. So Carrie said, sometimes the scary thing about fear is admitting it, which can be harder to do than overcoming the fear itself. Yep. You got to recognize it.
Some people, because you have a fear, that you have had maybe your whole life, maybe from a trauma, and the fear is it's the primary emotion behind a secondary emotion. Sometimes it's really hard to know the difference. So if something regularly makes you angry, but rationally that you shouldn't be angry, a lot of times it's time to kind of dig a little deeper and say, like, what am I actually afraid of? What is this about?
Yeah. And I'm going to pull up Bruce's comment. So Bruce says, when I was fearless, I was just too stupid to realize how dangerous what I was doing to be afraid of it. It was only later that I realized that I had to understand and manage fear to do what I needed to do. And so this was his fearlessness versus courage. And so thank you for that, Bruce. That's great. And I do think, go ahead, Kate.
I was going to say, it's a great example of leveraging what you can control to combat fear.
Yeah. And so the next item we really wanted to talk about is how can we how can fear manifest itself within our bodies? So we can also use that as a guide of when you don't know that like Carrie was saying, you don't know that it's fear. Sometimes you might feel it actually in your body first. So I don't know about you, but I feel it in my stomach. So like whenever I used to perform, I would feel the fear in my stomach first because I would get all these butterflies in my stomach. And even now, sometimes when I go sing or whenever I perform or even sometimes right before this show, sometimes you get that butterfly feeling or you get an upset stomach.
Yeah, definitely. There's things related to your heart. You can feel your heart rate increase, your blood pressure goes up, those stress hormones when and fear actually, because of the stress hormones, there's actually releasing adrenaline.
Yeah. And fear, I want to also just sort of point out that fear and phobia are two different things. And we won't get deep into this, but I want to make sure that people also realize that that when it interferes with your ability to function and maintain a quality of life or things like that, so it becomes an extreme, that's a phobia. Fears are common reactions to an event or something, but it's really that phobia takes over. It's a reaction, or it happens because you have the fear. So the fear happens first, then the phobia becomes something more.
Yeah, definitely. So how can we break the barrier when we feel fear?
Yeah. And so, I mean,
that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, look at some of the examples that even the kids gave. What's the worst thing that can happen, in doing that backhand flip? And so back handspring. And so what can happen to you? So what they ended up doing was really smart. They did it on the trampoline instead of on the ground. Let's go do it on the trampoline, because you're not going to die. You're not going to, in the trampoline, you're probably not going to break something, which is a fear on the ground. So they took those incremental steps to start to overcome that fear. She gained the confidence. Oh, I can do that, because isn't that fear? Fear is, I'm scared. I may not be able to accomplish what I am wanting to do in my mind.
Right. Right.
Yep.
It's taking the thing that you're fearing the most, and figuring out a way to break it down into something a little easier.
Exactly. The other example is on the clowns. So Riley, I ended up helping her. So we controlled her story by changing the story. So instead of you being afraid of clowns, how about you be a clown? And so that's one of the things that we can do as well, is control our story by changing the story that is in our mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have told other women that have been, raped or involved in sexual abuse to take self-defense classes. My mom put me in a self-defense class at like 13 or 14. And it was super helpful to give me some additional confidence.
Yeah. And you'll notice I've used the word control a lot. It's about controlling your thoughts. And so the biggest thing to do is to ask yourself questions that are, leading you to the fear. And so I want to give an example, and this is me getting vulnerable today. So recently, my husband and I have been having a little bit of communication issues. And whenever I started talking to him, I was like, I said, I've been thinking about, like, what is it that we both are sort of fearing in our relationship? And I said, I get the feeling that your fear, when we're getting into an argument, is that you're fearful that I will leave you. And that's something that spawns from past relationships. For me, my fear is that as we continue to grow together, I'm a very deep person. And so I worry, will we have something in common as we get older, as we become less able to do things and we have to sort of rely upon our minds? But I think just acknowledging and figuring those things out, and both of these things, I mean, how many relationships are there out there that everyone has these exact same fears? Right. And I want people to understand that everyone has them. It's now figuring out, okay, what are the steps that we're going to take to try to deal with this? How can I reassure you? How can you reassure yourself that, look, I love you. I'm not going to leave you. And then what is it that you can do to help me to understand as we grow older? How is it that we can continue to grow and learn together?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I have, and I think, what you and Jay are doing by being open about it, talking about it, doing something about it, is so much more productive than, what some people tend to do, which is, just ignore it because it's uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
I have found one of my methods that I really like is to cope ahead. I'll give you a more recent scenario. This past year, my nephew Anthony almost died, and he was in the hospital. It was looking like he was going to die. Like he was in intensive care. And so I had to sit down and I had to say, okay, Kate, what is the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario is that he dies. And so I sat down and I said, okay, what am I going to do if he dies? How am I going to cope with that? And I literally wrote it out because I was so afraid. I was, I couldn't sleep. I was constantly thinking about it for several days while he was in the ICU. And by literally looking at what I was catastrophizing, right? Like I was afraid that if he died, I wouldn't be able to breathe. That's what I was really afraid of.
Yeah.
By being able to like look at it and say, okay, worst case scenario, he dies. What are my next steps? And planning those out gave me some comfort that, I know that I will get through it. Yeah, it's going to be horrible and I don't want it to happen, but here's what I'm going to do to take care of myself if it does happen.
Exactly. And so I like that coping ahead, identifying, okay, if this happens, what is it that I can control? What is it that I can do in this situation?
And interestingly enough, every time I have done this, the thing I was afraid of did not happen. So it's almost like a little lucky thing for me too now. Where I'm like,
I do that too. It's so weird. It's like, okay, now let me focus on, okay, well, if this happens, how will I handle it? And then it doesn't even happen. It's like, okay, well, I worried about that for nothing.
Right. But but
at least
you're going to worry anyway. Right.
Yeah. At least I've figured out a plan.
Yeah. That's the thing about fear. That's the other message I wanted to get across is, we all have them. Like you all have fears. We all have thoughts, you have them. It's literally all about how you react to them. Right. So, it's totally okay to worry about something. But to let it consume you or change you, that's the problem. That's where you want to find a tactic that resonates with you so that you can move on and stay mindful.
Yeah. So I'm going to share my mom. She said thunderstorms. So my mother was scared of thunderstorms as we grew up, but her coping mechanism was she was like, I don't want to pass this on to my kids. So she would have my dad take us out on the porch swing, and we would swing as we were listening to the thunderstorm. So I love thunderstorms. Like it was a joyful thing for me, but she didn't want to pass on that fear that she had, even though she knew that it was sort of irrational, but it was because that's what she was taught when she was younger. And that's the biggest thing, is that a lot of times fear are things that we have sort of been taught for some reason to fear something. But I love the fact that she was like, I don't want my kids to have the same type of fear.
I love that too. That's wonderful.
So let's talk a little bit about, we're going to end some things today talking a little bit about fear that is pushed onto us. I ended up doing a little bit of research, and I found that in 2022, people were asked, what is it that you are very afraid or afraid of? And it was an interesting list that was out there. And it really shows you how much media really instills fear in us. And so I want to talk a little bit about this and how it is that, what it is that we can do related to that. So it was interesting because all of the things that were there, it really had to do with impending doom of the world. And this just really isn't healthy. It really pushes up our anxiety. And so some of the top items were, number one, corrupt government officials. That was the number one, with 62.1%. Number two, people I love becoming seriously ill, which was 60%. Number 3, Russia using nuclear weapons, 59%. Number 4, people I love dying, 58%. Number 5, the US involved in another world war. Number 6, pollution of drinking water. 7, not having enough money for the future. Number 8, economical financial collapse. Number 9, pollution of oceans, rivers, and lakes. And number 10, biological warfare. So think about some of those fears. Some of those are things that make sense. The people that we love are potentially going to die. But think about the majority of these. This is media or people just continuing to feel the fear and instilling that fear upon everyone else. And I have to say, this was one of the reasons that I felt compelled to do this show. I started saying, okay, how can I help the world? I, can't control all of these things that I just talked about. I can't, someone's going to pass away. I can't deal with that. The government's corrupt. I can't do anything about that. So I started focusing on what can I control? And so there were basic things like, okay, sure, I can vote. I can do things like that. But I said to myself, my goal really is to elevate, empower, and help those around me to find their inner badass self. And so for me, I started focusing on giving love, raising vibration around me. Those are things that can happen that we can actually help to change the world together. And that's really what this show is about. And I want people to start to think about what you can do in your lives to help control the situation around you. And if we all focused on love, if we all focused on helping positivity with the people that are around us, that's really where we can help change the world and how it is that we can impact things, not by worrying about all this other crap that we're hearing on media.
Yeah. I mean, I am a firm believer that to love and focus on the positivity is harder. It's harder than it is to focus on the negative. The negative is much easier. And so how it's super badass to be a lover, because it takes more work. It requires more effort. So, that's what badassery is about, doing something that others may not do, or that others can find value in, but that, it doesn't come kind of naturally.
Yeah. And I want to also say that a lot of times it can be super hard. Believe me, it's super hard. Sometimes you're like, you know what? I'm fucking angry. I want revenge. I want to complain. I want to cry. I've been there. I still do it, from time to time, but I stop, I have to stop and remind myself, okay, remember, Sarah, you need to focus on what you can control. You need to focus on, how to love, how to lift, how to empower. Believe me, I am a fighter. So it is really hard. I get worked up. And so I constantly have to remind myself to focus on the positive, focus on the love, focus on what it is that you can do. And so ultimately, it's, for me, I believe in karma. What you put out there is what you get back. Karma can be a bitch. And so I'll let her take care of what she needs to take care of. And I will just focus on positivity, those that are around me, and helping them to do the same. And we can lift people, together. We can lift more people together. And it's really just focusing on the people that are around us, and it's focusing on love versus hate.
Yep. That's how you can transform from living in fear to living in love.
Yes.
To focus on those positive things as much as possible.
Yeah.
And it's not a 100% thing. Like, we're all human. Just like Sarah said, you get sucked in sometimes. You get pissed off. You get irrational. Like we all do. You make mistakes. Yep. But if the majority of the time your intention is to love yourself, love everyone else, then that's going to help. That's going to make a difference.
Yeah. So my challenge to our audience is help us, to lift. So every time we're thinking, we're living in fear, think about, how can I actually approach this in love? It's super hard, especially when you've been hurt, especially when you feel taken advantage of, when you feel like things are not going your way. But I have found that you start to open yourself up to love, to light, when you really just focus on loving yourself and loving others, even though they might be a dick, asshole, whatever it might be. You just give them love, because that's really where you end up bringing back light and positivity for yourself.
Yeah. And you don't have to love those assholes like up in your face. You can love them from a distance.
Right.
That's okay.
And you can not like the things that they do, but
right.
Let's also look at how we can, what is it that I can do to really lift up whatever it is that's around me.
Yeah.
And so,
well, we have run a little over here. Thank you for hanging on with us, folks.
Yes, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the girls today.
Yeah.
So they're so cute. I just loved them, and I hope you guys did too. And thank you so much for joining us and for sticking on today. And for those that are joining us after the fact, be sure to remember to put your name in here. Let us know. Put your name. Let us know you watched. And we appreciate everybody joining us. And let's continue to build a badass movement.
Yep. Let this badassery fuel your Friday. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend and kick-ass week next week. And see you next Friday.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.